everyone, welcome to Democrafting the Future. You're here with me, Corinne, and Saray, and we're here at the Nordic Demographic Symposium at Hinsgau Slot in Middelfart, Denmark. We are about to show you some video interviews that we did with some of the guests here, and we're really excited to show you what we did. Could you just give us like a brief introduction about your background, your life, if you want?
Yes, I'm Gunnar Andersson. I'm professor in demography at Stockholm University, Sweden. I graduated with statistics from Lund, which is just across the belt here. And then my first job, I got a job to do population forecasts. And then I started to take more demography courses in order to make better forecast, and then I made a PhD in demography at Stockholm University in 1999, and after that my supervisor got to be director of the Max Planck Institute for Demographic Research in Rostock, and then I was his first recruitment. So, and that was super exciting because I decided that as soon as I get any job offer abroad, then I will take it because I want to move out and see something else. Yeah. And that was good because then in Germany at that time there were hardly any demographers because demography has a little bit taken towards the semi-Nazi past. So all recruitments there were international and then from different countries in Europe, and it really helped to build up the European demography by recruiting people from different countries, and then you're out of your fish bowl, someone showed here at the conference, because you have a lot of truth in how you think things are in your own country, but then comparative research, and Europe is such variation with culture, political regimes, all kind of things, so it's really helped to develop European demography at that stage. And before we had to quote research from the US because that was the most publication, even if it was very clear it didn't fit. So, but then we had really developed European demography as a
And why did you find demography interesting in the first place?
Well, I studied statistics, and then it was my first job to do this population forecast. So
it like came naturally.
Yeah, sure. And I was interested in anyway. It's a little bit the mathematical, logical mindset, but it's applied to something that's interesting. Because first when I studied chemistry and things like that, but then I found, because I thought natural science would be fine, but then I thought it was totally boring. You can apply a little bit logical thinking for something that's interesting, and then I thought demography would be a good one. And then my plan was to continue moving south. So first to Germany, and then I thought the next step could be Vienna or Paris, and then Rome or Madrid. But since I worked with demography and demographic data are the best in the world in the Nordic countries, I had to move back to Sweden again. So then I was recruited back in 2007 or so.
Yeah, and yesterday we heard you talk about fertility in one of the seminars. Could you talk a little bit about what your presentation was?
Yeah, it was one of the, it is super, I studied fertility patterns all my career for several decades, and until 2010 then I'd covered almost everything, and I remember 2015 and I thought, now we have explained everything, there is nothing more to do, so maybe I should study something else, and then it starts this totally unexpected fertility decline that cannot be explained by any conventional factors. So it's really super exciting to try to find out what is happening, what can contribute to the declines. And then we have set up several studies. So we have a list of structural factors, and we say, no, this one, no, it's not this one, it's not this one, this one, this. And my presentation yesterday was one more of those, whether increasing union instability would contribute to the fertility decline because less people would be in the union. And then it was another study. This also did not help to explain what is going on. So we continue working, but we have really made a good progress, a long list with what is happening. So, and then, there's still things to do. So it's super interesting.
Yeah, and I think that we have found this Swedish fertility, it's so up and down for the past, since the 90s, basically. And that's very interesting when you compare to Denmark, that's just been going down. Sweden has had some recovery periods versus where the other Nordic countries might not have had these recovery periods.
Yeah, there was recovery in the 80s in all the Nordic countries, yeah. But there's a little bit more fluctuation. It also, when things are moving, it's also easier to explain and see under the surface what is going on if you look at the structure. So that is an advantage with fertility. But and then if you look on the last swing, you could think that in the Swedish case, this is just another swing, but it's not. It's different this time. So it's not just another swing. It's a totally different development.
Yeah, and I think we were looking at one of the papers that you had written about the fertility declines in the COVID pandemic, and about like vaccine hesitation. Me and Ellie just wrote a paper for one of our classes where we cited this paper.
Yeah.
Like the vaccine hesitation in pregnant women, and about that they wanted to maybe delay until they knew the vaccine was safe, that kind of thing. We found that really interesting.
Yeah. There was a little bit movements around when the vaccination started and during the pandemic. And at the beginning, we didn't know exactly what was going on, but now it's also quite clear. But it was really then when the vaccination got going, then there was an additional dip, and then I got all those crazy anti-vaxxers starting harassing me and wanted to put me to people's tribunal, blah blah blah. So it was a little bit annoying for a while, but they have given up. So, but then we have another publication that's coming out now where we look on the parity-specific structure, and then I can see that what's happening during the pandemic, it was just a blip. So the first birth decline has continued all the way, and then during the pandemic it was increase in second and third birth rates, and then when it was over, then it returned to normal levels. So then it looked like it was something that has caused with the end of the pandemic with the vaccinations, but it was not. So it's really the long trends are stable, and then there was a blip around there.
Yeah.
What are your predictions for the future?
No, I always say when I got this question, so now it's super interesting to do research, but I'm happy that I'm not a forecaster.
It's super hard to forecast.
Yeah, because now it is more difficult than ever. And before one could, I remember when we had the last fertility decline in end of 1990s, and then we were supposed to do forecast, and then I said, no, this will recover to the old levels, and it did. So then it was not difficult. So, but now it's not. It's totally new development, and market doesn't know. So, but the Statistics Sweden, they have revised their long-term TFR level down from 1.9 to 1.7. And so far, I think that is a quite a plausible prediction. But really, since it's a new territory, it's very difficult to know.
Because we keep hearing a lot of stuff what other researchers have said about the fertility levels being connected with economical status and education and housing and all of these stuff, plus the gender equality in the States. And Sweden portrays exactly that, right? High income country and very gender equal. So it would be expected that the fertility rates
that it would be the ideal place to have
so
the
none
kids.
of this helps to explain the decline at all. So rather the opposite. So the economic development is super strong, and if it has not been as strong, the decline would have been even further. So all these factors is rather what's called attenuating the fertility decline. So the structural factors would work in the other direction, not contributing to the decline. So we really assign it all to subjective factors. It's really something that is in the air, subjective, and it's global. It's not unique to Sweden. It's not unique to any region or social group in Sweden. Or it's really something global that is going on in the world.
For the specific case of Sweden, what do you think? How much effect has the migration? Because we hear all these stories that there's a lot of migrants in Sweden, and then there are these horror stories that Sweden's gonna be cancelled by all the immigrants. So do you think that actually has a big effect on it, or?
No, it does not. It has hardly any effect at all in the long term. It has short-term effects, because I've done some really nice, I can say myself, but there have been influential studies on how migration is interlinked with fertility careers, so that you have elevated first birth fertility shortly after migration. And that's because it's more logical to first make the move and then you have the child, rather than first have the child and then make the move. So then when there are newly arrived immigrants, it's pumping up the aggregate rates. But if you look on the life course outcome, then there are no contribution. And you find a very rapid adaptation of the fertility levels of immigrants from high-income countries, with a few years in Sweden and other countries as well, because this has been replicated elsewhere, to the Swedish level. And then there's also a lot of migrants who come from low fertility countries. There is an adaptation upwards, goes a little bit slower, so it's more stronger downward adaptation than upward. And also if you look on the second generation, they actually have a somewhat lower fertility, so the long-term contribution is not positive.
Yeah, anyone else have any kind of last questions? We know you have another interview to get to in a bit.
I have
Maybe one of us here.
I have one question, and that's a question we basically ask everyone, and that is like, do you have like one fact you like the most about demography? It can be fun, it doesn't have to be fun. So
if I have one fact,
just a fact.
Like something you tell everyone that doesn't know anything about demography.
Yeah, we usually say fun fact, but it doesn't have to be fun.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be fun fact.
Can also be subjectively.
no, I don't know. So for a while ago, it was this with you look on the third birth progressions and emerging. You can detect the emerging girl preference in the Nordic countries. That was in Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. I did a study on that. Yeah. So if you have 2 children, then you are much more likely to have a third child if you have 2 of the same sex, yes, because you want to have. Parents usually want to have 1 child of each sex, but then the drive to have a girl is stronger, so it's a girl preference that's emerging.
Girl preference that is emerging.
Yes.
That's very interesting.
And that therefore it also was interesting then in India, where they have boy preference and so on. Sure. No, so that's interesting, and then it is really that girls, they contribute both with carer and earner capacities much stronger than boys, and you can really see it in the fertility progressions. So I thought that is quite
that's really interesting.
Good.
That's very interesting.
Well, thank you so much for
thank you for taking some time to sit with us.
Pleasure. No, I'm very happy that there are master students in Denmark. The future of demography.
Very happy to.
Yeah, we are happy.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.